JC, I wanted to ask you how did the idea come about initially for the fetch?
Yeah, so in 2016, my wife and I we made a short horror film called Hangman, and it was really just about a guy dealing with his own mental health and being haunted by his doppelganger, which was a manifestation of that. And we wanted to turn that into a feature, and we worked for 6 years on the script and developed it from just the Hangman short to the Fetch feature.
I saw that you were a writer here, obviously directing, and you edited the film. What was that like? That's always when people do all those three things, because just doing one of those is a lot of work. So I can't even imagine doing three. What was that process like?
Oh man, it was a gauntlet for sure. I mean, having working on the script for 6 years, you have a love-hate relationship with the material like that, you get ups and downs, but ultimately, I mean, like having like such an incredible crew and cast around me that really just delivered on every aspect made that so much easier. And then having an incredible cast to have such great to give such great performances that made cutting so much easier. I mean, in fact, it made it harder to cut things out because all the performances were so good. And I'm not just saying that because they're here. Like it was really like no, it was a fun process, and I really enjoyed that part. I mean, I edit all the time, and so it was just a dream come true to be able to do that. But it was not easy because I mean, it felt like everything was riding on me. But but luckily, again, I had an incredible cast and crew of people that just gave so much to make that a lot easier. So
Speaking of the cast, which obviously is right there with you, again, congrats guys on the great performances.
Thank you.
How can y'all describe the process of y'all's interactions, how y'all brought these characters to life? How much y'all stuck to what JC wrote in his script, and kind of what bits and pieces y'all added to each of y'all's individual characters.
Yeah. Well, I came on in 2018 to a earlier draft, and the thing that it really hooked me was the words on the page. It wasn't the draft that we ended up shooting. It wasn't perfect, but from the very first draft that I read, it was so emotionally alive. I flew through it. My heart was pounding through it. And it scared the crap out of me. Not only because I thought it was like a kind of, a scary elements, but like as an actor, just imagining going through the process that Nicholas goes through is terrifying,
Yeah,
and to think like, oh, I would go through this process and then the world might see it is, it was a huge responsibility too, the subject matter, the themes that we tackle. I just felt like, this can't just be, I can't just wing this, obviously, but like I just felt like a lot of responsibility to do my due diligence. And you know I think it really helped that I had a few years to let the material sink into my bones, and a lot of collaborative conversations with JC, a lot of them.
a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, and like, and feeling, I was, when I came on as a producer, just feeling like I had, a little bit more of a chance to get into the collaborative conversations of, where things go, and, who are we going to cast, and, being able to bring my dear friend Alexa in, I knew that was going to be just such a great fit. And I just think it was a dream to work with her and Robert Longstreet, and then Steven Tyler O'Connor, our casting director, like going out and finding some amazing kids,
yeah.
Tucker Gumble, Trip Topol, Banks Quinney, like, and then having, it's just like we got so lucky all along the way that the people we wanted to do the film wanted to do the film.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it really, when everybody's working together and is on the same page, it makes it doable, enjoyable. And yeah, I think the film speaks for itself.
Yeah, that's awesome. Kind of just going into that a little bit more about y'all's characters, because obviously, Logan, you and Alexa's character are a couple, and Tucker, you're playing the younger version of Logan. So obviously, y'all are all very connected in one way or another. How did y'all as performers personally get into that, and like kind of figure out the intricacies of, like, did y'all hang out outside of set? Did y'all get together with JC even, and say, this is how I would act as a kid? And in the case of Tucker, did you work with Tucker to, figure that out, how Nicholas would be as a kid versus how he is as an adult? just kind of the intricacies of like the process of how y'all figured out these characters' connections.
I mean, I've known Logan for a while, and we've known each other creatively, like primarily, which is a really interesting way to know someone. He's produced my short film that I wrote and directed, so we've collaborated before, and I think we didn't really have to put that much into what the relationship would be, because I don't know, I think, you've done this enough times. It's like we're so used to. I mean, he had tons of time to find his character. I had a very different situation. I think I came on like a couple of weeks before we were shooting, but you just get really used to jumping in, like the brain can get in the way a lot of the times too. So there's not to say that having more time with something necessarily yields better. For me anyway,
Yeah.
like my brain can complicate things.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like the body knows what to do. And,
Mhm.
especially with dealing with grief and shock. And, these are things in life we don't have time to prepare for or really understand. So there's something beneficial. I feel like as an actor, like you've got to learn how to make whatever work for you. So if you have a lot of time, you got to know how to make that work for you. If you have no time, you got to, and so I'm pretty down to like jump in or
Yeah.
not. You know what I mean?
And you were very collaborative. You had a
Yeah.
lot of thoughts on Charlie, and it was one of my best memories is sitting there working with you on reworking her character in subtle ways, and it was great. It
I
turned
don't
out.
remember that.
Yeah, I do.
But yeah, I think also each project has its vibe, that the people making it create together. And this one was so collaborative and in sync.
Mhm.
Like I really felt energetically everybody was really on the same page. And so there's just a lot of like, let's find it,
Yeah, and it does really help to have it on the page to begin with.
Yeah.
It I can't say enough about that. But yeah, what about like you guys working together?
Well, I really didn't see Alexa until like last night.
Nice.
No, I mean you and
Oh,
Fulmer.
me and Colby. Well, yeah, he helped me out. Like he explained what I was supposed to do, and I just had to turn the switch on for those really intense scenes.
And you
so.
really do. Like the opening scene is now one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Like
It
it's
turned out so well.
good.
Is this your first film?
Like first like actual
Is it-
feature film.
So good.
Yeah.
So
It did
good.
incredible, and we purposely kind of like kept him and Logan kind of apart because
Mhm.
that part of Nick's childhood is something that he had basically forgotten as an adult, and so it was we wanted to keep them apart from getting to know each other very well. But as for Trip, who's unfortunately not here, but he and Logan, we kept them together for a
Yeah.
while ahead of filming
Yeah.
because we knew that one, he's going to see Logan in the fetch makeup and he's going to be scared, and we wanted him to feel comfortable with him, and that was like so glad that we did that.
Yeah, we bonded very much.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I really love that guy. We had such a good time on set, and just playing around and making jokes, and yeah, it was such a great process. So lucky that we were able to have him as much as we did, and
Yeah,
that his parents were
Yeah.
just so amazing and
Mhm.
loved being on set as well.
yeah, we were very
Got to
lucky.
eat all those cookies too, those monster cookies. I'm gonna need the recipe for that too. I don't know who came up with that or if that was a real thing, but if
Well,
you'll have
fun
that, send
fact,
that along, please.
Trip Topol was paid in cookies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Tucker, I kind of wanted to ask you because I had this question lined up initially for Trip because obviously there's a couple of kids in this movie and they're involved, especially your character at the very beginning. Very intense scene, very scary. I mean, I'm a grown man and I was scared. So I wanted to ask you, what was that experience like filming those scenes? Because it's all terror, right? Like, I don't think you pop up in another scene that's peaceful. It's just terror that you're involved with. So what was that experience like filming that?
Well, it was actually like pretty cool because I got to see like behind the scenes and all that stuff. Like it was actually really scary too at the same time because they had like the feet under the door and I was like Nikki, so it was kind of scary too, but a cool experience at the same time.
What about the like one out in the rain?
Oh, that was
That was your first day, right?
Yeah, that was probably one of my favorite scenes too because I got to run across like the lawn at night and like bang on the door, and then they had like rain, like fake rain set up so I could what.
That's so fun.
Yeah.
I love fake rain.
Our sound is our sound mixer, who is also our co-writer and producer, made a rainmaker for us. So it was like
Several.
several rainmakers, and so Tucker was just like out there in October running barefoot through the rain in North
Nice.
Indiana.
That's fun. That's
Yeah.
a good day.
Yeah,
I appreciate a good rain where you can still kind of tell like there is like a rainmaker because there's something about it. I always think of like an R&B music video from the 90s, you know?
Yeah.
They just always look great, regardless, whether
Yeah,
even if it's in a
yeah.
horror
That's
movie.
what we're doing.
But
Yeah.
I love that touch that you added there.
Awesome. Yeah.
But speaking of, one other thing that caught my eye was kind of just the location scouting and the house. But also, there's a couple of scenes shot outside the pumpkin patch and then just the field nearby. What was the process like finding those locations and working around those? Because honestly, there's some beautiful imagery in there with a lone person standing in the fields, especially is what caught my eye.
This is a
Oh,
good
man.
story.
Yeah, that's a good story because we found that location in maybe 2018, 2019. Our co-writer Paul, who actually found that location, and we locked it in. We had it locked in for 4 years, and we rewrote the script around that house. And then 3 months before filming, we got word that this little A24 film called Iron Claw was going to be filming there, and we couldn't use that for our location anymore, and because their budget was a lot bigger than ours.
Mhm.
And we went into panic mode because we were like, we wrote the whole script around this location. What do we do? And we went and we scouted for so long trying to find another location, and then
I flew out from Los Angeles.
yeah, to go scout.
And we did a day of scouting, and we were like, okay, well, we could make these other houses work.
It just wasn't.
And then there was a real pause around the table, and I just said, we have to have this house.
We have to do it.
And I
Yeah.
swear to God, it was almost at the exact same time I said that I think Paul got a text message from his friend
From the film liaison who said that, like, hey, so Iron Claw's moving to Baton Rouge or New Orleans or something, and we were like, oh, that's great.
And
it was devastating to the owner of the house because we had locked in for a budget fraction of the price.
Yeah.
But it was I mean, honestly, it was a miracle.
It was a miracle
because that location was perfect.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was, so that was incredible. And the pumpkin patch area is actually, so the full on pumpkin patch is maybe a couple of miles away from that house. And then there's another version of the pumpkin patch in the film where it's just a wasteland, and that's just the backyard of the house.
Yeah.
So with the sign up. So yeah,
we got very lucky.
Yeah.
Hey, well, shout out to the Iron Claw for moving away, and shout out to y'all for making use of the space. I mean, again, it was really well brought together.
Team. And also, what a great film.
Yes, yeah.
Since this is a scary movie, or I consider it a scary movie, I wanted to ask each of y'all, what's y'all's personal favorite scary movie?
Oh man, The Shining.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really good. Not that it's scary. I just love the characters of Rosemary's Baby. Like I just love a good character-driven anything.
Yeah. I think mine has to be The Shining as well. Like because I saw it so young.
Y'all are synced up. You and JC are really synced up.
It's so burned into my head. Like I remember the feeling I got when we went into that hotel room and the bathtub. I mean, it still scares me.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't seen many scary movies, but I saw The Purge, and I like that pretty much.
Yeah.
So,
Nice. Nice. Kind of going off that question, because recently there's been a lot of horror movies, even in this one included, great performances. What's a great performance from a horror movie that's always stuck out to you in terms of just being like, this person's really just giving it their all in this horror movie?
Toni Collette in Hereditary. It's like Oscar-worthy performance. It's incredible. Like, I mean, that's the one that sticks out most to me.
And not Jack Nicholson in The Shining.
Jack Nicholson, obviously, The Shining is just
like
such
so
an
iconic.
automaton of it.
Yeah.
It's just iconic. Yeah, but I mean, I don't think that she got the love she deserved that year. So I mean, yeah, that's for me.
Yeah. I mean, when I think of iconic horror film performances, it's definitely, Jack Nicholson, Shining. I mean, trying to think if we'd ever seen that sort of like hypermanic, maniacal evilness. Someone who so fully enjoyed losing their mind. It's really,
you believed it. You felt like, oh, this is actually happening. Yeah.
Right.
I think that has to be my answer.
Right? I mean, Shelley Duvall in that too.
Yeah, yeah.
First
Oh,
of all-
yeah.
Oops, sorry, bad word. Sorry.
Yeah.
The stairwell scene with the bat is just it's pure.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he just kind of like disappears into that role.
yeah.
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 Yeah. I think that's when
Yeah.
we like feel like we all have met him for real.
Exactly. Yeah. You're like,
Right?
oh,
Like
yeah.
a part of
Mhm.
him.
Yeah.
Us comes through that we're like,
Yes.
oh yes, I have that
Yeah.
person in me.
Okay, sweet. So, final question for you guys. I think we're getting low on time, but what was y'all's favorite scene from The Fetch? If y'all had to pick.
I'll go first. My favorite is just the opening. That scene was rewritten for pickups. Originally the film opened differently, and I didn't think it was scary enough. And so I rewrote this opening scene, and we asked Tucker if he would come back for that, and they were gung ho for it. And it's purely just a scary tension building scene, and I'm very proud of it. I think it's a great way to open the film, and it's my favorite scene of the film.
I don't know. Like, I mean, I think I have a favorite visual of the film, and it's because I'm not in it, and I wasn't there for it, so it really was like I hadn't seen it before. First of all, anything with the grandma, because I was never there for that stuff, and I think there's something about that is truly horrifying for me. But there's this one shot where she's like literally like a centimeter away from the wall, like maniacally laughing, and there's something about the way that's shot. Like I love that. It's awkward, uncomfortable, it's disturbing. I like that one.
I think my favorite sequence is Nicholas seeing the Fetch for the first time into falling down the stairs. I just think it like really worked, and the pacing of it's awesome, and yeah, I think that's my favorite. Yeah.
And we got to throw a guy down the stairs. That was fun.
Stairs.
Stunt guy. He wanted to do it again.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
okay,
what they
great.
live for,
That works.
We got it, but let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's just do it, not roll.
Yeah.
Well, I liked when Nicholas like finally faced the Fetch. He's like not scared of him anymore, and like just, like hung him the Fetch and not himself. So
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for the time. I really do appreciate it. And again, congrats on getting this made, getting this out into the world. And I hope more people see it. And yeah, thank you all again for the time.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the great questions.
Yeah.
Have a good day.
See ya.